I'm not religious, but for this shortish video I use some religious iconography, and in the highly accurate rendition of a certain film or scene from it, I also borrow a little of the religious iconography used there.
Firstly, I should mention my voice, which is a little rougher and deeper than normal, and that's because I've acquired one of the most deadly viruses known to man. In other words, man flu. I will soldier on manfully as I drift in between near-death experiences and clinging on for dear life because of my man flu. So let's soldier on. If you got the film reference, by the way, in my impossibly accurate take on a certain scene, give yourself a high five. Now, I'm unsure what prompted me to use that scene because I haven't watched the film recently, so maybe I saw something on TV or online, and I really like that Truth and Justice tattoo on Mr. Katie's back, and so decided to make my highly realistic version of that scene. It's November 2018 now. I'm not naming any specific day. You'll note from the intro that this video is my ultimatum, but it is also a plea for truth and justice. The ultimatum is for you, the British mainstream media, BBC One, ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5 and Sky News. It's also for the British press, tabloid and broadsheet. I do believe some of you actually know something about this programme that has been given no airtime or the due attention and seriousness it most definitely deserves. So why do you remain silent? Are you under orders? Is it because you think those of us who are claiming what we know to be true are somehow delusional? The delusional tag does appear to be a standard and perhaps knowingly incorrect response by the psychiatric establishment. I do believe the truth will out at some point, hopefully not in the too distant future, and for those of you who know this is real and not a manifestation of delusional thinking, you really should hang your heads in shame. I'll get to the delusional thinking diagnosis in a minute or two. People claiming to be targets of these never-ending, mostly covert operations have killed, they've been killed, they've been sectioned, they've committed suicide, and you did nothing. Maybe those currently ignorant of our plight and who do have balls and a conscience should, after watching and listening to my evidence, publish this fact that the programme exists and is not targeting potential terrorists nor threats to the state, but in the main is targeting ordinary law-abiding people. So for my fellow targets, who are very possibly far better people than myself, you have the power to put an end to their lives being slowly, secretly and surely destroyed. One element used in the never-ending targeting, which utilises tracking, surveilling and harassing in various, usually subtle ways, aside from the very deliberate and accurately targeted noise campaigns, is a character assassination. If you type gang stalking and smear campaigns, or organised stalking and smear campaigns into YouTube, you should see it's quite a common tactic used against us, as is disinformation. The character assassination, which will travel to anywhere the target goes, is maybe the glue that holds the other elements together. And just in case you are of the mindset, I believe every person that says or shouts an insult, threat or warning my way is a gang stalker, then no, I don't. Locals and local businesses wherever I go are informed of my presence and are told I'm someone to be watched. Who does the informing and what is used to vilify me? I would guess the police may be responsible for doing the informing, so anyone local to where I may sleep for the night or frequent in the day who wish to be vocal will do so. Horrifying as the character assassination is, and which I became all too aware back in 2015, it has allowed me to acquire some much needed evidence. Proving the surveillance or any technologies that might be in use, including those that could be helping in the harassment and even harming those targeted, is not within our capability. A credible whistleblower with expertise in any of these fields would aid our cause considerably, but none has come forward as far as I know. There are whistleblowers, by the way, that have become targets, such as Karen Melton Stewart, who formerly worked for the NSA, but her field of expertise was not surveillance, tracking or harassment technologies. On the subject of certain technologies, my health began to deteriorate in 2012, early 2013, and within the space of a few months I developed osteoarthritis-like symptoms, but tests confirm I don't have this condition. Then burning and gnawing aches to parts of my body facing south, and particularly when I was trying to sleep, which would occur every night, or when I sat or sat still, and finally veins started to proliferate on my feet, legs and head, which I'd never had before. I can't claim that my persisting health problems and the heating and aches, which appear to be at their worst when in the flat, are due to sinister tech trained on me, and there might be a far less sinister explanation, such as the natural aging process, but the fact that a neighbour is somehow able to locate me anywhere in the flat and will make this fact known to me, and when you factor in the evidence I have of the character assassination and some of the tracking seen in some of those videos, you may understand why I can't ignore such possibilities. So I'll leave this out there should the former be proven in the future. I decided that sleeping in the flat was not only detrimental because of the sleep deprivation tactics, where the pattern of banging under wherever I lay, I wake up, the banging dissipates, I get back to sleep, more banging under me, I wake up, banging dissipates, and so on, was now coupled with the burning and some intense gnawing aches. It meant I felt for my health's sake, or to preserve what health remained, it was essential to sleep away from the flat. So I began sleeping in parks, but I also rented the garage from Southwark Council and would sleep there, and on much rare occasions, booked one night in a cheap hotel. In some of my video clips, which you can access at my Dropbox account and the link on my photoslondon.com homepage, the evidence will show I am somehow tracked. How am I tracked? For those taking an active role in this program, one simple method might be that alerts via a mobile phone are sent which tell others I've left the flat, what I'm wearing, that I'm on my bike, and I'm always on my bike, and so a person signed up to this program can be in place ready to issue an insult or three. In the loaned car I've been using to sleep since March 2017, I am found each night, and again the simplest theory is that a tracker has been fitted. If my two theories are wrong, how is the tracking accomplished? Do note, I am definitely tracked. My targeting began in 2009 and at a previous address, a block with 6 one-bedroom flats. It would take me about 3 years before I learned about gang stalking, and I was unaware of any tracking or stalking or character assassination taking place outside the flat from 2009 to 2012. I and my brother had lived in that council-owned flat for over 20 years without any noteworthy problem with any neighbour, until a Mr. Daniel Mesfin moved in not long after my attendance at the G20 anti-capitalist protest in London Square Mile area. I don't know whether I knew about the protest in advance via the news, or I stumbled upon it whilst out and about taking photos, as I often did for my webphotoslondon.com, and a selection of my photos from the day, and also whilst kettled, can be seen on that homepage. The police's kettling tactic is where you are herded to an area or otherwise prevented from leaving the area because you are hemmed in by a ring of police. I and a few hundred others were held for at least 5 hours before being allowed to leave via a narrow corridor formed by 2 lines of police. I have theorised that it was my attendance that day that led to someone or some organisation wanting to examine my life a little closer, and from there given the green light to induct me as an unwitting guinea pig and target for the never-ending tactics used in the stalking, surveillance and harassment programme. From day one of Daniel's tenancy, where he had upwards of 6 people stay in his 1-bed flat, noise, lots of it, became the routine day and night. Doors would be slammed multiple times through the day, and not just once, in a sequence of 6-7 slams together. They'd be banging on the walls and the ceiling. Now, why would he and his accomplice do this if it wasn't deliberate? I said I was unaware of being stalked or troubled outside in the 3 years where I believe the gang stalking began. I cannot say the same when I was inside the flat. In an effort to get some sleep at night, I would try sleeping in the kitchen or in the hallway, the passage, and even the bathroom, but wherever I slept there'd be hits directly under where I lay. It was as though Daniel and co had an uncanny ability of knowing my location. By the way, I did speak to Daniel a few times in the early days and politely asked him not to bang and slam doors, and he would apologise. But a nanosecond later, the noise would begin again. Subsequent asks to keep the noise down were met with gaslighting. In other words, denials any noise was taking place. And I realised speaking to him was futile. So I contacted the council, but they were no help whatsoever. I have wondered since whether Daniel was deliberately moved in rather than getting his tenancy through the normal channels. By the way, I was informed by a neighbour back then that before Daniel moved in, a policeman was living in that flat. If so, does that have any relevance? I am not a violent person and don't fly off the handle or go into sudden rage as some people do. But after 3+ years of the deliberate noise campaign and very deliberate wake-up calls through the night, every night, where I'd get barely more than an hour's sleep in one session, I typed a letter in the early hours and sent the email to the Director of Southwark Housing. In hindsight, and if I'd known about gang stalking earlier, then I would never have sent that mail. It was about Daniel and not overly praiseworthy. Excuse me. It was probably a cry for help, and help was never forthcoming. In the same circumstances, a saint might have cracked under the cumulative pressure, and then he might have cracked Daniel's skull. Yeah, all I did was send that email. Danny did say on a few occasions that he was going to fuck me over, and to his credit, he did just that. That email that I sent to the Director of Southwark Housing was passed or shown to the police, and sometimes, a few days later I think it was, 2 cops arrived early one morning and asked me to accompany them so I could have my sanity assessed. Thrilled at the prospect of a ride in a cop car, I leapt out of my balcony bed and we were soon off for a drive to the local loony bin, or Maudsley Hospital as it is also called. The cops were civil and one quite friendly, and they dropped me off just outside the secure unit I was to be assessed. But before being allowed in, they searched me to check I had no weapons or anything that could be used as a weapon. Then I was ushered into the room I was to while away the hours with no TV or radio, and the room separated and shared with staff at their counter. My blood was taken and I was fed, not the best of food though, and during the afternoon and evening interviewed maybe 3 times by different people. The staff were nice and even friendly. At some point later in the evening I was deemed no threat to myself or anyone else and was driven back to the torture chambers by the police. But this time, instead of a car, it was a police van, and again the cops were quite open and friendly. Not wishing to be sectioned, but unable to sleep or feel safe in a place I should feel safe, I then started sleeping away from the flat. But help did come my way, and my brother's, with a move to a 2-bed flat, still in Peckham, but a considerable upgrade to the previous flat. Could I now start a new life? In a word, no. I'm not going to go into detail here other than state much the same MO continued in the new abode. Is it any wonder those of us targeted and trying to get the word out about this are ignored and labelled delusional, paranoid or even schizophrenic when we say we're being tracked and harassed when we're outside, that neighbours take part in a deliberate noise harassment and sleep depriving campaign, and if we move away the same scenario will commence again? People might take note if the person targeted is famous or high profile, but the majority of us are neither famous nor high profile, which means we're ignored and get labelled at the very least delusional. However, as stated above, the character assassination, which I became, as I said, horrifyingly and starkly aware in 2015, and really is the worst kept secret yet. The police refuse to admit there is one. It has provided me with essential evidence that helps tie all this together. So whatever may happen to me, I know my evidence is more than good and highly credible in showing the smear campaign in action, as well as providing a glimpse into some of the tracking. In 2016, I decided to go to my local police station because I wanted or needed to know what had been used to turn me into a pariah locally, and that state is spreading. I was given an appointment and saw a male and female cop. The Asian male says nothing throughout. The upshot of that appointment is that I'm told they can't help unless I can point out one of my harassers. I can't, so I leave the station somewhat bewildered. A week later, I receive a letter for an appointment to see a mental health worker in Dulwich. I rang the number on the letter and was told the appointment was correct, and for me, baffled, I then asked why I had received it and was told the police had referred me. So the response to my asking the police to investigate what has been used to vilify and humiliate me to the world is to get sent a mental health referral. The police do have an ace up their sleeve and can and will pull out the Maudsley Hospital assessment back in 2012 and the notorious email I sent to the Director of Southwark Housing. 2017 saw visits by the police to the flat, as well as a few more referral letters to mental health. The source apparently for the police visits was my gang-stalking neighbour in the flat below, Mr. Negash Teshomi, NegashTeshome, and his sinister family. I did once swear at Negash, calling him a piece of work, and that apparently worthy of a call by the police 10 minutes later. I recorded a couple of the police visits, but the one recording I wish I made is when 4 cops arrived with a mental health worker in tow. Gobsmacked, I asked why they were here, and why in such numbers, and they couldn't really give me a good answer. I'd done nothing, and yet there they were, 5 in all. Regarding the final mental health referral letter, I did ring to say I didn't want to go because I have no mental issues, but the person I spoke to said that if I did attend, it might put a stop to the police making these unwanted and needless visits. So for that reason, and that reason alone, I decided to go. There was a female psychiatrist and also the female that I'd spoken to on the phone, and it was she that persuaded me to go because it might be to my benefit to attend. The meeting was frustrating for me because it became quite obvious at some point during the chat, come assessment, that the psychiatrist from the off was fixated on her delusional diagnosis. So whatever I said and whatever proof I'd mentioned to back up my claims, it was ignored. She did mention just one of my video clips, but I can't recall how she got to see it or them. Why mention just one clip? Because you can't arrive at a proper conclusion until you've watched all my videos. An unbiased person would easily make the connection that my videos prove I am the target of the insults and rarer threat, and that in some of the videos there's a tracking element. So I find it difficult to believe that she would base her diagnosis after just one video. So she's either reluctant to admit to something she doesn't want to acknowledge, but knows is true, or, worryingly, is in league with the police. Hopefully it's the former. One good thing did come out of that meeting, and it was the fact that the police haven't made any subsequent visits. I received a copy of a letter, also sent to my GP in January 2018, which was the psychiatrist's take on the appointment with her back in late 2017. She does have mostly complimentary things to say about me, but does bring up the subject of delusional thinking, and also states that the police have listened to and watched the selection of my videos, and any insults heard are simply the result of living in a city like London, and that I incorrectly misinterpreted them as being for me. The police know they're for me. I know they're aimed at me, but they will persist with this lie until they can no longer get away with it. One outrageous sentence from the psychiatrist was the discussion of my taking medication to help with any delusional thoughts. Now let's make this patently clear. I have no delusional thoughts, and to offer me medication for something I don't have is very, very troubling. I do have a suggestion though, and that is for the police to swoop on churches, temples and mosques, and for all those deluded people believing there's some big guy in the sky, an invisible, omnipotent being watching over them, to be medicated for their very apparent and obvious delusions. Now, with regards to the character assassination, which is a fundamental element used in our targeting, I can't shake the belief that unlike my fellow targets of this extrajudicial programme, who for the most part say there's no substance or truth to any of the smears or slander, I do feel as though there's some revenge porn type scenario in my case, except the person exacting the revenge is not a person but an organisation. Just so you know, prior to owning the few laptops I've had over the years, I had the older style PC station and bulky monitors. There were no cameras on these old monitors, and I put tape over the cameras on the laptops from day one of ownership. So, has anything triple X-rated of me been seen at this or the older address? I have done some stupid and shameful things in my past, which I'm very sorry about, and I am embarrassed and ashamed of them. But I've never been violent, a bully, a drug dealer, a rapist, and nor have I molested anyone or anything. I may have got over friendly with a watermelon once, but it seemed to enjoy the experience as much as myself. Yes, that was another attempt at humour. In amongst some of the insults and threats I get, I have heard via my recordings the word pedo and paedophile. For the record, Your Honour, I've never ever visited a teen forum. I've never pretended to be a teen or younger than I actually am. I've never watched violent porn because I would never get excited about watching someone being hurt, and certainly have never downloaded child or any abuse images, nor have I visited the dark web. I was signed up to a British-based celebrity forum called Victorian Pages, where I'd upload videos recorded on TV, and this was an addiction for the years that it was online. I did have too much time on my hands, and you know what they say about the devil and idle hands. As for the source of my pleasure, the simple answer is, wait for it, female. Actress, presenter, sporting musical. I'm very Catholic. I don't mean that in a religious sense. As I've already stated, I've done some things that I am ashamed of, but like all sinners, I can't turn the clock back and ensure I don't make stupid mistakes, don't do shameful things, and don't be such a coward. Remember, the police deny there's any smear campaign being used against me and have dismissed the evidence I supplied, but I do believe someone higher up in the police hierarchy has given the order to dismiss my evidence when in reality it can't be dismissed. Who gave the order to deny my evidence, which is part of the organised stalking, surveillance and harassment operation? Was it at a local level or higher in the chain of command? And does it go all the way to the top where London's Police Commissioner Cressida Dick reigns? I learnt via the psychiatrist's letter back in January 2018 that a Merlin report is the reason or excuse used by the police for those mental health referrals. Inexplicably, it's taken me over 8 months to try to find out what the Merlin report contains, and the blame for the delay is squarely mine, though since making an application to get access to it, it feels as though there's some stalling tactics by the Information Rights Unit, or maybe it's just incompetence. I would show you the actual emails, but there's a restricted and not suitable for publication wording on each mail that they replied, so I'll tell you instead. I sent off the first application with my ID documents in September by snail mail, and within a week received a reply. I was surprised at the quick response until I realised it wasn't the Merlin report, but my ID, an application and a letter saying I hadn't provided the correct information. I mean, I had, and so I was puzzled to getting it all back because I was certain my documents were present and correct. So I emailed their office and was told they had made an error and could I send them again. By the way, a few months earlier I had applied for my first full British passport. The application never arrived, and among other documents I lost my birth certificate, and as I needed this for my Merlin report I had to purchase a copy. So not wanting to risk losing anything in the postal system, I sent the Merlin report application and my ID by guaranteed delivery, which cost around £7. So I was a bit miffed that their error was going to cost me another £7. The person that said my application was rejected in error did say the new one will be backdated, so that was some consolation. The application arrived intact, though in chasing this up I initially received an email saying please send the application form to the Information Rights Unit and not to an individual. Yet the individual referred to said it was okay to send to her. How's that for communication? After 30 days I still hadn't received a report, so I contacted them again, and the response was that due to high volume of requests my application is taking longer to process. It's now 2 months and I'm still waiting for the redacted report, which will explain what's been used to refer me to those mental health assessments in 2016 and 2017. My hunch as to its content is my Morsley assessment back in 2012. What else could it be? It can't be the insults and threats by the character assassination, because they deny the insults and threats are for me, and they certainly aren't going to admit that gang stalking is real. I would like to believe that the ordinary copper and copperettes did not sign up to be police officers to have part of their duties to take part in a cover-up. It doesn't matter what they think of me, and I'm sure they think very little, but if they know ordinary, and anecdotally at least, good law-abiding people are being fucked over indefinitely by the drip-drip effect of the multiplicity of psyops, and which might also be using technologies that can harm, then surely this has to play on their minds, knowing they're part of destroying people's lives. Finally, I'm back to my ultimatum. I want you, Britain's mainstream media, to visit my photoslondon.com homepage and click the Dropbox links to my evidence. Read what needs to be read, watch what needs to be watched, and listen to both the audio and video files. My evidence proves both the character assassination and that I'm somehow tracked, and in the case of my ex-neighbours, that they could somehow locate me in the flat. That is more than sufficient to know gang stalking is taking place. I want you to publish this fact. You have until the 5th of December 2018 to do so. You may of course contact me before then, but if you do neither, then anything that happens to any genuine target of this programme here or any other so-called democracy after that makes you complicit. All of you. Thanks for watching, and please remember, the clock's ticking. I don't want to give you the excuse that you never received my letters sent via snail mail, the normal post. So I'm emailing you as well. This is firstly to ITN News. So there's, and this letter, my ultimatum, does have the link to my Dropbox evidence. So I'll send this as well. And then there's my YouTube video, my ultimatum to Britain's mainstream media, which should be uploaded either today, 13th of November 2018, or tomorrow. So let's press the submit button. So that's been received. 12:58. This one's to Channel 4. They're all via the same web page, so they all kind of operate from the same building. So Channel 4 this time. So Channel 4 now have my email. This is to the BBC. I couldn't find their main news contact address. This isn't the one I really want, but it's still going to the BBC, so I'm using this. And I'm not using the website's contact form, but via email. time is, and let's send that. Double check. There it is.